Hey everybody, I am spending the evening in a little hamlet called Bushnell's Basin, and it has a significance because it was one of the early meeting points of champions, boosters of the Erie Canal. And there is a building here that dates back to those days in the early 1800s. So this is the Towpath, which is where young boys drove teams of horses that towed the barges along the early river, the early canal. And you can kind of see, as I pan out to the canal itself, that this is actually an area which has the original ditch. In other words, it was actually dug out and reinforced with concrete, as opposed to being a river that was simply managed with locks and dams. So it's been really mellow cruising along here. I haven't had any locks today to go through. However, there have been lift bridges which get lifted for me as I approach. This was a real problem with the early canal because in many cases farmland was bisected by the canal, and farmers couldn't get from one side of their farm to another, or they couldn't get their goods to the mills on the other side of the canal. So many old bridges were built. Most of them are gone now, but there were a number of bridges that still exist that were built so low that you can't get underneath them. With the mast down, my boat is only like 13 feet tall, and I have to call to have these lifted. So we are entering Bushnell's Basin. You can see it around the bridge up front, and it's really super cute. This is actually between a really nice town called Fairport, and we're also just southwest of Rochester, so it's pretty commutable, 20 miles to Rochester. And you can kind of see some of the older homes over here, and then of course a private patio dock for homes on this side of the river, or the canal. Sorry, I've been on a river so long, I call it that. All right, and of course now the towpath is used for cycling and jogging and walking, and it mostly goes from Watertown, which is near Albany, all the way to Buffalo. And people bike it as like an annual trek. It's kind of a thing. I've met several groups of bicyclists along the way. So it's kind of cool. I sort of wish they had a little bit more organized tourism along here, but there is a fair amount. And in fact, I think we're about to see a Lockmaster barge boat coming up. And there are a number of these you can rent for several days at a time and tour these little towns. And I gotta tell you, although the lock experience was very intimidating the first couple days, it's really a blast now. It's so much fun. So I mentioned Richardson's Canal House, where the boosters met. This is it over here. This is the canal side with the outdoor tents, and you can see the old buildings in the background. I'm gonna have dinner there tonight. And also, here's like a ruin of an old bridge. These things are all over the place. All right. If I had more time, I would be able to go out and look at some of the original canal and the aqueducts and locks that still exist, although they're not working anymore. Much of the canal was redone in like 1850, and there were new channels dug, they were deepened and widened, new locks put in place to handle bigger ships and barges. So it's much more, it's much different from the original old stuff that was done in 1818 to 1825. All right, we're gonna go up the hill and cross the bridge. This is a little one-lane bridge, which is a little spooky, but hopefully I don't get killed. I made it over once. I guess if I do get whacked, you'll have photographic evidence of my not murder, but manslaughter or something. Hopefully you'll go after them. Okay, so Bushnell's Basin. Coming back down here. This is like a really nice stopover, actually. I mean, Fairport was kind of touted as being a really good spot, but with the canal house and you've got, there's a grocery and a Walgreens. It's actually kind of nice, and the dockage was really inexpensive, and they have good services. So here's the front end of Richardson's, the old tavern. This is the original structure that goes back to 1818. It was in pretty bad shape when the owners, I believe they bought it in the mid-70s and made it into a working restaurant. So okay, so we've got wine and spirits. No need for that. I took care of it yesterday. And someone said the Chinese food is pretty good, but we're not going to try it. And there's the Walgreens where I'm going to get some ice and a few little tiny snacky things. All right. I will give a shout out to the Marathon because they're the ones who manage the dock. So, hey, whatever. It was cheap, and it's pretty nice as things go. Here, let me cut down the path. All right. Now we're coming up on the town dock. You can see the wall that maintains the canal. Oftentimes, like they're in the rivers, of course you would just have a river bank and they dredge the river to a certain depth, but this is actually a concrete ditch. And also, while I've been gone, this Lockmaster barge boat arrived, which you can rent these for 3, 5, or 7 days, and you know, I think they hold like up to 6 people, and they have like suggested stops, and they're pretty cool. So they have air conditioning too, which I do not have. And of course you can see Icaros waiting for me. And then Abbott's Frozen Custard seems to be a pretty seriously hot spot, so I may have to check it out after dinner tonight. Anyway, that's where I am, and hope you're all doing well. It's a gorgeous day, but I'm looking at thunderstorms all day tomorrow, so I will catch y'all in a bit. Bye.